ASMR Who. Now, if you are perhaps a subscriber, or if you just have looked at the videos on my channel, you will see that I've not posted a video on this channel for quite a while, a couple of months I think. I don't really have a specific reason for that. I just sort of fell out of the swing of things a little bit. But I am back. I'm going to try and start making videos again on this channel. And to start with, I wanted to talk about this beautiful thing, Doctor Who, the collection, season 20. Season 20 there. Now, I had intended on doing an unboxing video, like I did with the season 9 set, because, you know, the collection sets was sort of the reason why I started this channel, because I wanted to see a video talking about the sets, an ASMR video, and so I decided I would just make my own, and then it went from there. And so it feels right to always talk about these sets on this channel, and I was going to do an unboxing video for this. However, when it arrived on Friday the 15th, I think, of September, and I was going away that weekend. I was travelling on that day, and this arrived about 20 minutes before I left. There was someone in the house who would have been able to collect it and make sure it got there if it had arrived after I left, but it arrived about 20 minutes before I was going to leave, and so I sort of very quickly took it out the box, just to check that everything was, you know, that it wasn't broken, because sometimes these things get damaged in transit, or they don't quite, you know, things aren't quite right or whatever. So I sort of opened it up, checked the quality control of this, checked that everything was good, make sure that I wasn't leaving it upside down for a weekend, because the disc trays are most often the things that have the sort of quality control issues, and this is a big set, it's a 9-disc set, so I didn't want to leave it upside down for the weekend, if, you know, and give the disc tray a possibility to sort of come loose from the back of the box, the glue to come loose in it, to be, you know, rattling around loose there. And so, yeah, I wasn't able to unbox this on camera for a video. So what I then thought, I got back from my weekend away and I just dove straight into it. I was very excited to, and so what I thought I would do, I wanted to talk about it on a video, but I thought, hey, you know what, this is a season that I hadn't seen any of these stories other than the 5 Doctors, and it had been a long time since I'd seen the 5 Doctors. Last watched the 5 Doctors. Don't know if you can hear that vehicle outside, but I thought I would. I was just going to dive into the season, watch all the stories, and then I thought I would sort of give a little bit of a sort of a review for you guys here. My thoughts on the stories, my thoughts on this set and everything like that. So we'll open this up a little bit here. Look at the back of this. I mean, this is a lovely, well, look at the full image of this, but this is a fantastic image here of the Black Guardian in Enlightenment. So here we are. Continue your Doctor Who archive with the Ultimate Collector's set and all 7 classic stories. Archive of Infinity, Snake Dance, Mordrin Undead, Terminus, Enlightenment, The King's Demons, and of course the 5 Doctors. And then you've got some of the special features here, the 40th anniversary version of the Five Doctors, a brand new version, new special effects, new documentaries, new features. I haven't delved into many of the special features on this set yet. I have watched the Martin Clunes interview, it's about a half an hour thing with him and Janet Fielding. I watched that, but I've not got into the other things yet. I've not got into Look Who's Driving, or Let's Go Dutch, or In Conversation. I've not got into Behind the Sofa. I will, of course, delve into all those special features and no doubt enjoy them a lot, but so far I've basically just watched the stories, and then I thought I would give you a little review of them. Also, I'm not a professional reviewer or anything, so don't expect these to be the most in-depth, well-written reviews. I'm just sort of talking about my general thoughts of these stories. So you see here, you've got the lovely blues and purples and the pinks here, and all the different enemies. You've got a Dalek, a Cyberman, you've got the Master from the King's Demons, Omega, one of the Veneer Guards from Terminus, the Mara and Mordrin, and you've got the Doctor holding the crystal from Snake Dance. And of course, we'll take a look on the back, this wonderful, wonderful image of Valentine Dial as the Black Guardian, and the TARDIS there with some of the ships from Enlightenment. That is such a striking image. It's so beautiful, vivid, really vivid colours, and really interesting. It's nice that we get these images of the TARDIS on the back, and this is just so different and unique to all the others. It's just nice to have a bit of variety. So, if we open this up, you've got your booklet flap there. We'll very briefly look at the discs. I'm not going to go too in-depth on looking at this set. I assume by now you either have this set yourself, or you've seen other unboxing videos, or stuff like that. But I'll go through the discs very briefly. So you've got disc 1, you've got the Doctor and Omega from Arc of Infinity. You've got disc 2, which is Tegan and the Mara from Snake Dance. Disc 3 is Turlo and Mordrin from Mordrin Undead. Disc 4, you've got Nissa and one of the guards, Terminus. Disc 5, you've got again Tegan in her sort of dress, and then you've got the Doctor, Captain Rack, of course, Linda Barron, Auntie Mabel, and what's his name? Is it Mansell, something like that? Disc 6, you've got the Master and Chameleon from the King's Demons. Disc 7 is the Doctor and Barusa. That's the transmission version of the Five Doctors. Disc 8, this is a really fun disc. You've got the Rastan Warrior robot, and there's some Cybermen being brutally attacked. This is the 40th anniversary. This is a new version of the Five Doctors. And disc 9, the final disc, is the TARDIS there, and Rassilon's Tower, and this is the 1995, the special edition of the Five Doctors there. And as always, we press down on the glue, we make sure it's in there nice and securely, especially with these big 9-disc sets. It's a very heavy disc tray, so I always just make sure, as you can sort of guess that I'm not going to take the discs out, but those are all the discs there and everything. And then here we've got the booklet flap, the cover, so you've got the five doctors, I suppose, but this is in Rassilon's Tower, and you've got Tom there and Lalla Ward. Yeah, great moment from the Five Doctors. And then this booklet here, you've got this image, which of course is on the booklet, and you've got the TARDIS there from Enlightenment with the orange roundels and the chessboard and everything. So that's great. Again, that's another thing where it's nice to have a bit of variety in terms of the TARDIS, the motif, and the menus. Of course, this is what it looks like in the menus on the discs as well. Just nice. So, we'll just close that up for a second, and then we'll go through this booklet, and I will give you basically my little review of each of the stories, what I thought of them, maybe do a little bit of a ranking as well. So you've got, of course, the Fifth Doctor here. You've got Tegan, Nyssa, Turlo, and Chameleon. So, 20 years of a Time Lord. Welcome to season 20. You got Peter Davison there in Amsterdam. So we start off with, of course, Arc of Infinity. Now, I wish I could start on a positive note, but Arc of Infinity, I was very underwhelmed by this story. Unfortunately, I didn't find it particularly engaging. I didn't find the Time Lord stuff very fun or enjoyable. Colin Baker's great as Commander Maxwell, of course, but I wasn't too enamoured with the stuff on Gallifrey, and I wasn't too enamoured by the stuff in Amsterdam either. I don't think it made great use of the location filming in the way the stories like, I think, City of Death and Sharda, what footage they got of it, make much better use of the location filming, even though you could argue that City of Death is just the Doctor and Romana, running across the street for 20 minutes, but I don't know, I think it incorporates the Eiffel Tower, and I don't know, you just get more of a sense of Paris that you don't really get with Amsterdam in this story. It wasn't awful, but it did underwhelm me. I didn't love Omega. I didn't really understand why the Ergon was necessary. I didn't really understand why Tegan was necessary, other than bringing her back into the fold, but it just seemed like a weird coincidence. Not that I'm not someone who really cares about stories having coincidences in them, and like that's part of the nature of storytelling sometimes, but it just didn't really do all that much for me, and I felt the ending was a little bit weak, where Omega becomes a Doctor but then just sort of dies anyway, and you may be able to hear that's my father singing to himself, bless him. So yeah, I thought that this was kind of lackluster. It's not awful, it's not the worst Classic Who story I've ever seen, but it didn't really do all that much for me, unfortunately. But I don't want to dwell on a story that I didn't care for too much. I like to try and be positive where possible. The last thing I will say that didn't impress me with this story is that there's a sort of twist villain in this, which maybe you haven't seen this story. I'm not going to spoil it for you, and some people really like this story, so don't, just because I didn't care for it doesn't mean you won't. But I didn't think that the twist of the villain, obviously we know it's Omega, but there's another sort of smaller role that's a twist villain in this, that not only was the voice not hidden particularly well, if you listened, you could tell they sort of pitch shift the person's voice in. If you're listening, you can tell who it is, but also, regardless of that, I think that in trying to hide who it might be, it makes it kind of obvious in who it will be. And so, I just sort of guessed that twist way early, and so that didn't surprise me either. But yeah, as I say, I don't want to dwell on a story I didn't get too much for, and it wasn't awful, but it was a little bit of a lackluster start to the season, unfortunately, I felt. Next, we go on to Snake Dance, and this story I felt was much better. This is a little bit of a unfortunate. I don't know why Lee Binding has chosen to. I mean, I sort of understand why you put this image in, but I just think it's a little bit suspect to have these two things at the bottom of here. It makes it look a little bit like something else. It's an odd composite. It's nice, and the first time I saw it, I didn't think of that, but I think I saw someone say on Twitter, so you just look at it again, and once you see it, it's kind of hard to unsee it. It's an old image. I'm going to stop looking at it now. But yeah, I thought that Snake Dance was much, much stronger. I remember enjoying Kinder on season 19, and I know some people prefer that to this story, and vice versa. I would have to rewatch that, I think, to really compare them, but I very much enjoyed both. I think maybe my instinct is that I possibly enjoyed Kinder a little bit more, but really I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I liked both of them quite a fair bit. I think Martin Clunes is really good in it. I mean, that outfit doesn't do much for him, but his other outfit that he wears for the majority of the story is really great, and he's a great performer in it. And it's not quite as surreal or trippy as Kinder, but it's still got those elements, and it's got a creepy atmosphere to it. I really like the sets in this. I think in this booklet they talk about they used a set from some other show. I have to assume that that's the sort of market area, because that's it feels really big, and it's populated really well with extras. It feels very alive. It feels like a real place. It reminded me a little bit of like the Rings of Akaten from series 7 in the new show, and yeah, I just really liked the world that was created here, and I didn't quite get everything that was going on with the Mara. Some of the specifics went past me a little bit. I would probably need to rewatch it to probably get what was going on, but I got it enough, and I was swept along with the ride, and I had a fun time with this story. I thought it was really, really strong, and yeah, I don't know if I would consider this or Kinder to be better, but I enjoyed both of them, and this was a strong sequel to that story, certainly. Next, we come on to Mordrin Undead, and this was a real pleasant surprise for me. I did not know what to make of this story. You don't really hear anyone talk about Mordrin Undead and what they think of it. It's not something that is discussed it's not a story that's discussed very often. It's not a story that, when you talk about the Fifth Doctor's era, you hear people talk about Earthshock and the Five Doctors and stories like Kinder and Snake Dance and Caves of Androsani. You don't hear anyone talk about Mordrin Undead, other than the fact that it's got the Brigadier in it. And I've got to say, I really, really was impressed by Mordrin Undead. Excuse me, just coughing there. Particularly, there's a moment in episode 2. Because this story uses time travel, there's 2 versions of the Brigadier, and the cast is split between 2 time periods. And there's a moment in episode 2 where the Doctor is talking to the older Brigadier from 1983, and the younger Brigadier is with Tegan and Nyssa in 1977, and it's edited in a way where the older Brigadier is explaining to the Doctor, he's telling him about what we're seeing happen with the younger Brigadier and Nyssa and Tegan, and I really felt that I don't know, there was a confidence in the way that it was put together and the way it was edited that the story trusted the audience to understand that what we were seeing happen to the younger version is what the older version was telling the Doctor about without showing him say, and then this happened and this happened, or you know what I mean? Like, it was confident enough to play with the time travel and to not spell it out for the audience, and so I really liked that. I liked Nicholas Courtney. I know that this was initially meant to have William Russell in it, but I think Nicholas Courtney is just as good. Basically, I'm not sure I would say I liked Turlo. He's not the nicest character. I know he's very self-preservationalist, but I really enjoyed his character, and I thought this was a great introductory story for him. He's a really interesting presence, not only in this story, but in the TARDIS crew. You know, and Mordrin was an interesting adversary, and it's an interesting type of situation, you know, especially when you consider that, like, in other stories in this season, they're very big scale threats and the universe is in danger and whatever, but this is just about these 7-8 people who are cursed with immortality, and they want the Doctor to give up his regeneration so that they can die, essentially. It's a really unique moral problem, and their costumes are a little bit silly. They're a little bit, you know, these costumes don't quite work. They look a bit silly when they're moving, but I was really, really impressed by this. I had a great time with it. Yeah, it's almost like a Stephen Moffat script in a way. Although not quite. It's not, you know, it's not horny like a Stephen Moffat script is, but I was just really, really impressed and surprised and pleased with this story. I didn't know what to make of it, and I had a great time with it. Then we move on to Terminus, which is, I think, probably the weakest of the Black Guardian trilogy, but it's still pretty good. I really like the design of the guards. Is there a picture of them here at all? Oh, there isn't. But the veneer guards with the sort of skeletal armour, they're a really great design. I thought it's not the best story for Nyssa. Nyssa as a companion doesn't really do much for me, unfortunately. That's not me having a go at Sarah Sutton. I think she always does great with the material she's given. She's just not given good material a lot of the time. Or she's not. It's more that she's not really given much of any material. She does feel like a spare part in the TARDIS, and yeah, even in this final story, she gets sort of sidelined and put in a leper pit, and yeah, it's, you know, the Doctor gets put with Lisa Goddard's character. Oh, I've forgotten what she's called, but she basically becomes his companion for this story, while Nis is with the plague victims, and Turlo and Tegan are in a vent. But I thought that Nis's exit was handled really, really well. I think Sarah Sutton played it brilliantly. You can't. I know that I think that was a remount because they ran out of time initially when they were filming this story, but I thought that was a great scene. I thought, again, I liked the plague victims and that element of the story. This one is sort of unremarkable, but I like the side cast in this. I like the guards and their conflict, and you know, when the other guards were sort of I don't know how you just sort of mutinying, I suppose, against, or they were deposing the guy in charge. I think his name's Arak or something. The guy with I think he's got like a red cloak. And he was being, you know, the other guys were like, no, we're taking control over you. I must admit, I had a great smile on my face, so I did enjoy this story, but it's probably the one of this season it's one of the ones I have the least to say about. It was just good, solid fun. Yeah, it was a great mid-season, good story. I don't really have too much else to say about it, but I enjoyed it. I like Terminus. Enlightenment is another strong story in the Black Guardian trilogy. I really loved, where is she? There she is. Linda Barron as Captain Rack. I thought she was a fantastic villain for the 2 episodes she's in, and I really liked the Eternals in this and the way they view things. And I was struck watching part 1 when the Doctor and Turlo are talking to all the sailors. It felt so, I don't know if it was just the dialogue or the lighting or a bit of a mix of everything, but it didn't feel like it was a story from this era of the show. And I don't mean that as a negative against this era of the show. It has its positives, but it was a nice sort of change of pace and change of atmosphere, and it looks great. I didn't watch with the updated special effects. I put them on briefly, but then I thought, no, actually, you know what? I turned them off, and I preferred the older ones. And with this season, I really felt that I decided that I don't much care for new special effects, actually. And some stories, they really, really work. To go on a brief tangent, there are occasionally some stories where I think the new special effects help it so much. Time Lash, for example, on season 22. I watched that with the new special effects, and when you go back and watch it without, it's night and day. I mean, that's probably why I'm not so harsh on Time Lash, because it's when he goes into the Time Lash with the new effects, it's so much better. It improves that sequence tenfold. I couldn't imagine watching the story without those effects now. And what's great about those effects is that I didn't feel like those were really out of place, whereas the new effects on this, with the CGI models of the ships and stuff, they look great, but they just don't fit with the rest of the story, for me personally. So I prefer to watch with the old effects. And also, I think when you watch with the old effects, it makes you appreciate the times when they manage a really good effect and things look really great. You know, I think when they're on the hull of the ship, when they're on the outside of the ship, on the top deck of the Eternal ship in space, I think that it's very simple, but I think it really, really works. And that's, as is in 1983. So, yeah, I appreciate that we get new special effects, and I think sometimes they're really, really great, but a lot of the time I'm quite happy with the old effects. The same I found with Snake Dance. I didn't care for the new version of Damara on that. I prefer the old version. But yeah, in regards to this story, I loved it. I thought that it was a really great story. I don't have too much to say about it. I knew that this one was popular in a way that, in the same way I knew sort of Snake Dance was popular, but I didn't know that Mordred Undead was. I don't know how popular that story is. So when that was really good, that was a really pleasant surprise. Whereas when this was really good, it wasn't as much, because I knew it had more of a reputation. But it was that's Terminus, isn't it? But yeah, it was a great story, nonetheless, and I had a really good time with it. Then we have the King's Demons, and this was fine, harmless. I don't much care for Chameleon, but this is just sort of too short to really make much of an impact. I like having a historical story. Again, it's something you don't really get too much in this period of the show. Certainly not in the late 70s, and then you get a few in the early 80s. You get the Visitation, you get Black Orchid, and this, but you don't really get them too much. You have a bit of it in Enlightenment, but it's not real. So, but yeah, so the historical element of this was fun, but it just sort of washes over you. 2 episodes is really not enough. Chameleon doesn't work, and I think Gerald Flood, especially when he's playing King John, is a very hammy performance, isn't it? It's very over the top. But it's nice to be. It's a different change of pace. I really just don't have all that much of anything to say about the King's Demons. I know people aren't too fond of it, but it was fine. I don't hate it, but it wouldn't rank high for me because I didn't enjoy it enough to really make it feel very memorable. I think other than this, and this especially, even more so than Terminus, I have the least to say about it. It's fine. But it's one of those stories where it's like, well, it introduces Chameleon, but he barely plays a part in the rest of the series, so what's the point, you know? It's just a two-part story where if not that much happens, really, and it's not, it's nice to see the Master, but then he's in the next story anyway, so, and he's much better in the next story, so, yeah, this was fine, but nothing really stand out about it. And then finally, we have the 5 Doctors, and this, of course, is a really fun story. I didn't love it quite as much as I remembered. I did watch the new 40th anniversary edition on disc 8. Again, I think when I watch it next time, I think I'll go for the original broadcast version. I think I have seen all 3 versions of the 5 Doctors. I'm fairly sure I've seen the original version and the special edition, both ones before. I think I have it. I had it on DVD, the special edition, so I definitely watched that on DVD. And I think I watched this version as well, but that was many years ago, so I don't really remember it. But the 40th anniversary edition is it's basically new special effects, and again, they're good special effects, but for me, they just don't quite fit in with the old show, and so I don't know. I think I'll go back to this one if I watch it again. I'd love to watch it with this audio commentary from 2006. I've never listened to that. I would love to do that. So maybe I'll do that next time I check out this story. I don't know. But yeah, the 5 Doctors. I mean, it is great. But yeah, I was sort of struck by the fact that none of the Doctors really get that much to do. I don't love Richard Erndl as the first Doctor. He's decent, but he's no William Hartnell. And the second and third Doctors don't get all that much to do, and the 4th Doctor's not really in it. But listen, the 5 Doctors, it's still a good story, it's still a fun story. But I think I don't have the nostalgia for it that a lot of people do, and that's fine. I did still enjoy it. It's Terrance Dicks. You can't really go wrong with Terrance Dicks, but yeah, it was fun to revisit. But as much as this box set and everything, and there's 3 discs for the 5 Doctors, and the discs on the set are all they're all based. There's Barusa's game table behind the characters, and you've got this from the 5 Doctors and everything. But for me, it was not the highlight of the season. Not that it wasn't good. Of course, it is very good, but there were just some of the other stories that I think I preferred more. But I don't hate the 5 Doctors. It's a great story, but it's very much fan service, isn't it? And so I don't have, because I don't have a lot of nostalgia that a lot of other people do for it. I can look at it more and as a story on its own merits and go, yeah, it's good, but it's not great. But look, I don't begrudge anyone who considers this one of the best Doctor Who stories ever, or one of their favourite Doctor Who stories ever. It's the 5 Doctors, of course, it's very good. And so, yeah, that's my sort of little mini review of the season. I don't know that I'll do this for any of the other seasons. I know when I did the first couple of videos looking at the sets up to, I think it was season 2 at that point, I had sort of gave my thoughts on some of the stories in those sets and stuff, but I don't know that I'll do a full review for all the others. I probably won't, but you never know. But yeah, that was season 20. Overall, I felt it was a pretty strong, pretty consistent season. If I was going to rank the 7 stories, then I would put at the bottom for me would be Arc of Infinity. That was really the only story that I don't want to say I didn't enjoy it, but I sort of, I'm not desperate to watch that one again. It was for me, it was by quite a way the weakest. Then I would go with the King's Demons. It's just too short to really to have much of an opinion on. I like the historical elements. I like the concept of the story, but the companions don't really get much to do, and yeah, it's fine, but it's so unremarkable. Then Terminus, again, I enjoyed it, but I don't have too much to say about it. It is the weakest in the Black Guardian trilogy. It's the one with the least amount of Black Guardian in it, and it's not a great final story for Nyssa. It's a great final scene for Nyssa, but it's not a great final story for her, I don't think. But I did enjoy it. It is pretty good. Then, controversially perhaps, middle of the road, I put the 5 Doctors. I like it. I enjoy it. But I think I'm a bit older and I don't have the nostalgia for it, so I'm a bit more. I can see its flaws, and I'm not trying to say that, if you really like the 5 Doctors and you don't think it's flawed or you like it because of nostalgia, I'm not trying to make out like I'm better than anyone or anything, but that's just the way I view that story. It's good, but it's not. It is a flawed story. It's not. It's not amazing as. It's not as amazing as I think its reputation might have. But I don't begrudge it having that reputation. It's an anniversary story. It just, for me, it was my only my 4th favourite story in this season. Then top 3, and these are all very difficult to place. I think number 3, I'm going to have to go with Snake Dance. I really enjoyed it, and it's difficult to pick the top 3 really. I think you could put them in any order and I wouldn't complain. But it was, yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't know if I preferred that or Kinder, but I just enjoyed both. I like both of the stories. I like Martin Clunes. I like what, Janet Fielding gets good stuff to do in that story. And yeah, it was just really good. Then number 2 for me, second place, I'm going to put Enlightenment, which lived up to its reputation. It was a great atmospheric story. It looks brilliant. A great villainous performance from Linda Barron. And yeah, it was just really, really fun, and a pretty satisfying conclusion to the trilogy, the Black Guardian trilogy, in that story with Turlo, I felt. And that means that my favourite story this season, to no one's surprise more than mine, is Mordrin Undead. Maybe over time, and if I were to watch it through again, this season 2 again, maybe it wouldn't be, but I just had no idea what to expect from that story, and it really, really impressed me. And so, yeah, as it stands, that's my favourite story of this season at the moment. But overall, a pretty strong, pretty consistent season, bar Arc of Infinity at the start, which I didn't much care for, but every other story in this I thought was pretty good. The King's Demons it's fine. It's just a bit short, but even that I enjoyed. So yeah, I really like season 20. I think it's probably a stronger season than season 19, Davison's first, which again I really liked that season, but I wasn't too big on Castrovalva. Black Orchid is, again, it's quite similar to King's Demons. His 2 parts is just a bit too short. And I don't want to write off 2-parters as, well, they're too short to be any good or whatever. I think The Rescue from season 2, that was a 2-part. I think it's really good. And of course, 2 parts is about the length of a modern series episode. So, it's not that they're too short to being that length automatically makes them, not worthy of discussion. But generally, the 2-parters aren't as strong. But there are good ones. The Sontaran Experiment was a 2-parter I enjoyed. The Ultimate Foe is pretty good. But again, Black Orchid, King's Demons, they're just a bit they sort of wash over you. And of course, Time Flight is in season 19, and that's not great. But that season has its highs. Shock is great, of course. The Visitation's pretty good. Kinder is very strong. I like Fort to Doomsday, although it's not incredible. It's probably about Terminus levels. So yeah, I do think that this season is possibly a little bit stronger than season 19. But it was really nice. It was great to watch this season. It was the season of Davison that I'd seen the least of. Other than the 5 Doctors, of course. So yeah, I had a really great time with this season. And let me know what you thought of this season, if indeed you're still watching. Haven't clicked off or fallen asleep or anything. So that's sort of my review of season 20. What I'm going to do, before I finish this video as well, I want to talk a little bit about what is sort of next for this channel and what I plan on doing next. Because, I want to get back in the swing of making videos for this channel again. I haven't done for a couple of months, and so I'm going to sort of set a bit of a plan and just talk about that a little bit. So, first of all, there are a couple of ongoing sort of video, I don't know if you call them series or what, that I need to finish. The Who Graphica book, that I need to finish looking through that, and I'll definitely get on that. The read-through of the Doctor Who and the Daleks novel, which, I started. I did 1 chapter, and I've not continued past that, but I do intend on continuing with that. We'll see how far I get. I don't want to promise that, but I do want to carry on with it. Obviously, as I say, Who Graphic, I'll continue, possibly some other books and things, but also, I've finished season 20 now. I've watched every Classic Who story that I own. I've watched. I might do a video going through some of the DVDs I have. I do still have some Classic Who DVDs. Basically, a lot of stories. They're all stories that aren't released in the collection. They're mostly, at this point, it's a lot of Patrick Troughton, and a couple of Hartnells, and a couple of Bakers, and Davison stories, but it's a fair bit of Troughton. I've watched all those stories now, so I might do a video talking about those DVDs, the other Classic Who stories I've seen. But I'm thinking of getting into Big Finish. I've never really delved into Big Finish. I've never really listened to it too much, but I do want to. But what I find is that I kind of want to delve into some of the earlier stuff. And so what I'm going to do, because I know the first 50 stories of the main range are available for free on Spotify. But I don't really use Spotify too much. I'm not much of a music guy, weirdly, so I don't pay for that, and I think the episodes on Spotify are all split into 2 to 3, 4 minute chunks, I believe. I don't really fancy trying to listen to a Doctor Who story with What If I Had's in the middle of it. So what I'm going to do is, start the main range, Big Finish main range, because all the first 100 stories of the Big Finish main range are $2.99 on the Big Finish website. And so what I'm going to do is basically buy to download. Of course, they're out of print now, but I'm going to download and listen to one story from the main range every week. So it's, that's like, what, £3 a week. That's more than doable when I consider what other stuff I spend money on during the week. £3 for one, Doctor Who story. I think that's fairly reasonable, and of course that's the first 100 stories of the main range, so that'll take, it's almost 2 years worth of material if you're looking at one story a week. And no doubt I'll take a break whenever a new collection set comes out, or when we're in the midst of the 60th anniversary specials or series 14 or whatever. So that's sort of my plan, and I think I might do like a little review. It might just be a voiceover rather than a full video, a little bit like the book reading, Doctor and the Daleks book reading. There'll just be a voiceover, and I'll put the image, the cover image of the story on screen, and they'll probably only be very short reviews, but I think I might do that. It'll just be a nice weekly little video that you'll get a little review of a very old Big Finish story, but as someone who has seen a reasonable amount of the classic series, but not all of it, of course, but I feel ready to delve into Big Finish and to take the plunge, and who knows, maybe I'll start getting more into their more recent releases and stuff like that. We will see. That's sort of my plan. I also might do reviews for the new episodes. Just the other 2 days ago, as of recording this, we got the brand new trailer for the 60th anniversary specials, which looks really great, really epic and big and fun. I have my reservations about the 60th anniversary specials and series 14 and stuff, but that trailer did get me hyped. It was a lot of fun. We've got confirmation now that Neil Patrick Harris is playing the Toymaker, so we still don't know when those stories are going to be out exactly, but I think I do want to do reviews of those. I might have a discussion about those and as they come out, but we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, that's sort of what I'm going to do with the channel going forwards. Is you'll get a Big Finish monthly range review every week, and any other videos I can think of doing, I'll continue with other books and stuff. Maybe other books and stuff I've been reading recently. This Scratchman, which came out a few years ago, and I got it recently, and I've been reading through this. I've read book 1 because it's split into 2 books. Book 1, The Long Night, and book 2, Scratchman. So I finished book 1 and I've yet to start book 2, but it's a really good read. It's a really great story so far. So little things like that. But I don't want to just limit it to sort of collection stuff, Blu-ray, DVD stuff, and book stuff. So yeah, I want to sort of delve into other things like Big Finish and other, more sort of, miscellaneous stuff, you might say, like the Eagle Moss figurines and stuff like that. We will see. But yeah, I'm back. I'm going to try and be more consistent and more regular with the uploads on this channel. Take advantage of the 60th anniversary, and there'll be more eyes on Doctor Who and more people looking for Doctor Who things. So yeah, we're coming up to the 60th now. It's time to sort of take advantage of the algorithm and not in a cynical way, but more Doctor Who is great, and I'm getting really excited for the 60th now. I want to talk about it. I want to expand into Big Finish, so that's sort of the plan for me, for this channel for the foreseeable future, and I hope that you will stick around if you're not subscribed already. and you did enjoy this video, and you maybe want to check out some of my other videos, then yeah, subscribe, like this video, and all those things that help the algorithm. And yeah, other than that, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of season 20. What's your favourite story? How do you rank them? What season do you think is coming next? Personally, I think, and I think a lot of people think this, it'll either be season 15 or a Troughton season. Probably season 6. I think it's probably season 15 next, and then a Troughton season. If we're going to get a Troughton season, the first one I think will be season 6. It looks like the animation's about. We've got the Underwater Menace coming. Although again, a little bit like my snobbery, I suppose you might call it, about new special effects. I'm not always sold by the animations. I don't really care much for this, what they're doing recently with the newer ones, where they're reimagining things and redesigning certain elements. I don't much care for that, especially if it's a story that has episodes that exist, like the Underwater Menace, but whatever. We're lucky to get them, ultimately. But it looks like the animations are back, and when you consider that both season 5 and season 6 are seasons that now only have one story that isn't either missing or completed with animation. In season 5 is the Wheel in Space, in season 6 it's the Space Pirates. Which of those two stories is more likely to be animated? I think probably the Wheel in Space. And so I think if you wanted to get a Troughton set out, if it was a choice between one of those two stories, Wheel in Space and Space Pirates, one of them's getting animated, one of them is just a reconstruction. I think everyone would go, well, animate Wheel in Space, we don't need the Space Pirates. It'd be nice to have it as an animation, of course, but I think that's more likely to just be a reconstruction and get that out on season 6 and have it available to view in some form. I think there is a loose cannon reconstruction, but yeah, that will be, I think that will be the first Troughton set, but I think that will probably be after season 15, and I think that will be the next set. And then after that, who knows? But yeah, that's sort of the future of, that's my prediction for what's next, and the future of this channel. As I say, like, share, subscribe, all those things, comment. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you very soon for the next video, which may be a book thing, maybe a DVD thing, or perhaps it might be my review of The Sirens of Time.